Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk through what has transformed my glow up as a 34-year-old mum to 2 kids. And I want to talk through some of the things that I have done, like mostly internally, to completely change the way that I approach self-care as a mum, as a woman, because it has drastically shifted over the last 10 years or so. And I think that I see a lot of people, like friends, I see a lot of other women who seem to be kind of struggling through this same internal dynamic with it all. So I'm just going to give you like a little run through of like where I was, like how my journey has like progressed to where I am now, and what the fundamental things are that I believe that I changed, that I shifted within me to get to this place now where I don't see self-care as a chore anymore. I don't see it as an obligation of something that I have to do. I now see it as something that I look forward to, taking care of my appearance, my body, my mental well-being, everything really that I think encompasses self-care. For me, self-care is more than just taking care of your body. It's taking care of your mind, like what you put into your head. It's it's nurturing your soul. It's all of those things that encompass yourself, basically. And where I'm at, like currently now, as a 34-year-old mum to a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, is drastically different to where I was when my children were very young versus even before that, when I was in my corporate role. So let's kind of go back to that place so before I got pregnant with my first daughter, I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. I was a business analyst, running fairly large projects. Well, I was kind of a bit of a project manager, but mainly we'll say a business analyst, running large strategic IT projects within the company that I worked in. I'd grown to managing a team of, 4 or 5 people, of other business analysts, of training those, and I was responsible for implementing like new systems within the company that I worked at and helping them to make savings, to become more efficient, all of those kinds of things. And when I look at my self-care that I had at that time, a lot of the self-care was based around obligation. I felt, especially working in a corporate setting, there felt like there was a standard that I had to adhere to. So I had to dress in a certain way. I had to be smart. I had to be presentable. Even though I didn't really work with a lot of external clients, most of my my stakeholders were internal. Obviously, I was in an office setting and there was this standard of having to dress in a certain way. I know things have kind of relaxed a little bit more. So like, what are we, like 10 years down the line now or something? But yeah, back then it was very much, I think we had like a casual like work Friday, but even then it was like smart casual and all this sort of stuff. So there was kind of like these standards that I felt that I had to adhere to. My own like internal self-care was pretty crap at that point. I didn't really have like a fantastic relationship with food. I kind of just, well, I want to say it wasn't so much about I just ate what I wanted, because I kind of do that now. But the difference being that then I wasn't aware of how that food and how certain things in my lifestyle was making me feel in my body. I had no body like conscious awareness going on. I would kind of, maybe feel like bloated or feel uncomfortable, but never really try and understand what was causing that and have that inner dialogue with my body going on. Whereas now my body is becoming more and more sensitive. I can feel every single time I put something into it, every time I do something with it, I can feel the effects that it's having in a very like moment to moment basis. And I'm then able to tailor like what I'm doing in my life and what I'm, doing in my day to day to support like my body. The same with my mind as well. I really was not in a place of being particularly consciously aware of the types of things that I was consuming and what that was, the impact that was having to my overall outlook in life. Yeah, I kind of didn't have my own internal boundaries around what was best for me and my self-care at that point. And then I became pregnant and I gave birth to my first daughter 7 years ago. And I decided that I wanted to become a stay-at-home mum for lots of different reasons. And what then kind of happened, the shift that took place then, and let me know if any of you resonate with this, because I see this, or I certainly saw this in a lot of the friend circles that the kind of mum friend circles that I got into at that point. So I moved very much heavily into wanting to parent quite differently to what most people were doing. I wanted to parent in this really full-on way. I kind of wanted to let motherhood like completely consume me. It's a desire I've always had from, like, I remember playing with dolls as a little girl and just having this desire from a very young age of wanting to be a mother. And I really wanted to allow myself to step into that, to really allow myself to be this mother. And that was one of the reasons why I made the decision to become a stay-at-home mum, because I just knew that for me personally, I couldn't balance going back even part-time into that corporate world and being the mum I wanted to be at the same time. For me, those two things just weren't going to marry up. I wanted to either, have my sole focus on one thing or the other. And obviously I chose my sole focus to be on raising my kids. But what happened along my self-care journey as a result of that was, it was like the shackles got removed from being in this corporate world, from being in this place where it felt like there was this standard that I had to adhere to. Now, let me know if this is you also, but I am one of those people, and I have been ever since I was little. You can ask my parents. If somebody tells me that I have to do something, you are damn sure that I will find a way to not do that. Now, I'm not somebody who's who's really aggressively rebellious, but I will find subtle ways to get my freedom back. And this was kind of one of the things that had happened, was especially with how I was outwardly dressing when it came to being in my corporate role. I was wearing clothes that were more fitted. They didn't always feel so comfortable. It felt like I couldn't really relax, that I was always having to sort of be on it. I don't know, it's hard to describe. I had to be available. I had to be professional. I had to be at that standard. And then as soon as I became a stay-at-home mum, it was like I say, the shackles got removed, and I was like, I can do whatever I want. I can dress however I want. And I think as well from being at school, I was one of those kids at school who I hated the fact that we had a school uniform. For me, being able to dress was not just an expression of my own creativity, but it was also a way that I could allow my body to feel comfortable, to feel different things. I could feel sexy, I could feel comfort, I could really tailor what I wore depending on the way I wanted to feel within my body. And so I hated having a school uniform. I hated having to wear the same thing every single day at school. It just felt so flat, so boring. My inner feminine was screaming out to have some avenue of creativity in it. And obviously you can get, a little bit creative, but you're fairly limited. And then I went in, pretty much straight into the corporate world. I didn't do university. I got my degree whilst I was working full time. So I pretty much went straight into the world of work and straight into more these masculine, or quite heavily masculine structures and containers. And so when all of that kind of got removed, when I became a stay-at-home mum, it was a massive shift in so many different ways, but specifically for this video, around my appearance and my self-care, because I suddenly was I don't have to do any of this. I'm not beholden to anybody in the way that I look, in the way that I take care of myself. And so then I got into this very relaxed state. Jeans and t-shirts were were kind of like just my daily, like what I would wear. And there's nothing wrong, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with jeans and t-shirts at all, but it was the energy behind, like underneath all of that was really interesting. And it's not only like, it's only been in the last year or so since I've been really deepening my own inner work, like really trying to expand on my own inner journey, that I have come to what feels like a really comfortable, expanded place when it comes to my self-care. And I want to talk through, I've got a little list that I've written down for you guys. I want to talk through what those shifts were to have gotten me to this point now where my freedom of like how I dress and how I express myself, how I take care of my body, how I take care of my mind, like the food I eat, the things I put into my body, the things I do with my body, like I'm so aware of it and I'm so in tune with it, and it feels so good. Like this level of self-care feels like a million miles from where I have been ever on this journey. And like I say, I see a lot of women who, like a lot of mothers who get stuck, like especially if they are a stay-at-home mom and they don't kind of have anything that is particularly influencing how they dress, how they look after themselves, kind of getting stuck in what is really not actually a very healthy self-care place to be. And I'll talk through, I'm going to get into the list because it will explain more as I go through the list about why you kind of get stuck in that place, because I've been through all of this myself. So one of the big things that shifted for me around my self-care was realizing that I needed to start taking care of myself for me and nobody else. Like I had to be the number one reason. My desires had to be the number one motivation for my self-care. So it meant that I didn't need to be, standing or putting myself on a pedestal, especially as a woman. I didn't need to adhere to a certain standard. And I'm kind of glad I went through that in that corporate role and feeling very much like I had to perform in a certain way, or I had to show up in a certain way, especially around my appearance, because then stepping out of it and then completely going in the opposite direction has really allowed me to get this balance right with it now. So but it's not just like in a work environment, it's also for our partners. Like one of the things that I used to do a lot was be very conscious about how I dressed for my husband. This was not anything that he ever like put upon me. This was completely within my own head of feeling like, I would only be sexy, I would only be appealing, I would only be sexually attractive when I wore certain things. And how that journey has evolved is I can see that, like you've probably seen these kind of reels on like social media. I know a lot of them like pop up where you get yourself all dressed up and, to go out on a date, and your husband's really not particularly interested, but you come downstairs in a messy bun and like, jeans and whatever, and they're completely turned on. Now, don't get too surface level with this because I don't completely agree with that. But what you can see when, they kind of do these like funny reels about this is that the reason is it's because the energy behind it. So this was like what changed it was I want to show up every day for me, for nobody else. Like I want to choose the clothes that I wear because I feel they look good on me. They feel comfortable on me. They make me like really sink into myself. They make my body feel comfortable. They make me feel sexy. They, like all these different things that you want to, feel on a given day, especially as a woman. I chose those things for me, not because somebody else said I look good in this, or, because I thought that wearing a certain thing was going to give off a certain intention, a certain persona. It was because it feels good to me. So that was one of the big things that I had to remove. And I think for a lot of women, like this kind of happens from quite a young age as young girls, is we kind of get a little bit of an expectation around appearance. And I'm going to move on to the next point, because this is like also really, really interesting. And it's probably one of the like big reasons why you kind of see, you know, it's that typical, you know, it's like we even have like mum jeans now. The fact that we even have like jeans made for mums, they're all kind of like slouchy. And I have a pair, I have 2 pairs, I love them. But it's that kind of, you know, for me, it gives off that feeling of like, I really don't have much, I don't have much care. I don't have much intention for myself here. I'm just putting this on because this is the easiest thing, so I can get all the stuff done that I need to get done as a mother. I need something that's really practical, and that's about it. And I think as women, like, we do desire to be seen. Like, the feminine has a desire to want to be seen. And we do like to dress up. And it's more than just that. Like, for a lot of us, like, the way that we dress and the way that we, like, present ourselves externally isn't a reflection of, like, our internal world. Like, it's an avenue of creativity for us. Like, this is why, you know, mostly speaking, you know, like my masculine husband, who, you know, yes, he does self-care and he looks after himself, but it's in a very different way. There's a very different energy and intention behind it to what I have for mine. And so, like, the next thing that I dropped, which kind of coincides with this, is I dropped the rebellion act. Like, I hear this so much from women, and it kind of really saddens me. And what I mean by, like, I dropped the rebellion act was, this was what happened to me after I left that corporate world. Because I kind of felt that there was this standard I had to adhere to. There was this obligation on me as a woman to present myself in a certain way. As soon as those shackles got released, I went into rebellion. Like, for me, my, like, stay-at-home mum, I'm still a stay-at-home mum, by the way, but those early days, when I look at, like, how I was taking care of myself, or how I wasn't really taking care of myself at all, like, I was being the martyr. I did everything for my kids and nothing for me. That's basically, like, the dynamic that happened very, like, early on. So all of my self-care kind of just went, like, pretty much out the window. There was no intentionality behind what I was doing to look after myself. And a lot of that stemmed from wanting to rebel, because I had felt that I'd been in that place where I'd been obligated to be in a certain way. And there was this part of me, like I was saying, you know, from a young age, don't tell me, like, what I can and can't do, because I will find a way. And this is definitely one of my shadows that I need to work on. And this is why, like, I talk about this around self-care, is because when you're kind of feeling like you're being told to do something, maybe that's by your husband, maybe that's by society in general, whatever it, like, is that you feel someone is putting that obligation on you, you want to push against it. Like, as human beings, none of us like to be told what to do. Like, we have kids, like, you know what it's like when you tell them what to do. And they will go out of their way, even though they don't wish to all of the time, to make the point that is, I am free to make my own decisions and do what I want to do in life. And this is basically what I did. It was like me making that stand to say, no, I am free. I am free to show up in the way that I want to show up. I am free to dress the way I want to dress. I'm free to not have to wear makeup if I don't want to wear makeup. I don't need to wear makeup every day. Like, all of that kind of thing. But it was all coming from, again, it's like assessing, where is this coming from? Where is this action? Like, what is fueling it? And for me, it was, at that point, a rebellion. It was saying, you can't dictate what I do. And so I'm going to push in the complete opposite direction just to make my point of allowing myself to know I'm free. But that doesn't get you anywhere either. It's like, I remember talking to like some friends kind of around, you know, it was a lovely like mother's lunch. We had the kids were all playing and we were talking a bit around self-care. And I remember the conversation came up around like shaving, you know, shaving your legs, shaving your arms, all of that kind of thing. And how it was around, you know, like I remember like some of like, you know, my dear friends like having this internal conflict around, should I do this? Because I feel like society has this expectation that like women should have clean shaven legs, like women shouldn't have bodily hair in certain places and all of that kind of thing. And you know, and it was, I don't, you know, there was this, I could feel this like internal conflict going on like within them that was like, society wants, like expects this and wants this from me, but I don't want to like adhere to society's expectations. But the problem that happens when you get into this mindset, and like this is like for me, like this is one of my little internal things now. If I hear anyone on like social media, on like YouTube, anything like, or somebody that I'm, you know, buying like education off, if anybody mentions the word patriarch in a negative light, I instantly walk away from it, because I know that there's still wounding, there's still this blockage around everybody outside of here is trying to do all these things to me. Everybody's like, you know, everybody else is having this impact on my life, and they haven't moved themselves, they haven't up-leveled themselves to the point where they understand and realize that you are solely responsible for the reality that you create. Nobody else actually has that power over you. It's the fact that you've allowed yourself, you've given that power to them, but you can take that back. And so this is like what, you know, where I see like this kind of rebellion thing, and this is showing up a lot, I think, in women's self-care, because for a long time there has been there still is societal expectations on women, but pushing against it and going in the complete opposite direction just to make your point of freedom doesn't get you anywhere, okay? And this is what we should be concerned about. It's about what you are getting from this. Don't care about anybody else. And like I say this from a place of like self-love in this situation, because I have completely been through this. Like I am a kind of rebel at my core. I'm not this like, I don't do marches and that kind of thing, but like I do not do well when people tell me what to do, okay? So I really know what that feels like, and I am very used to knowing what it's like to push against it just to make that point, to say, no, you don't have power over me. But this is where it's surface level, because in doing that, that person or that organization or that body or whatever it is does have power over you, because you're pushing simply to make that point. You're not stepping into this sovereign place of going, what do I want? And that was the shift that I had to make. And so like I said to, you know, my friends, when we were having this conversation about, you know, the shaving, and I was like, what do you want? Drop all of the what I should do, what I feel like I'm being forced to do, what I feel like I should be pushing against and making a stand on. Drop that crap, okay? Ask yourself, what do I want? Like, you know, let's take the, you know, the shaving, for example. Like, do you like to be clean shaven? Are you not bothered? Are you really quite happy in that natural state? Choose. It doesn't matter. And if you decide to like, so this is where like I find women get caught up. If their desire is actually, if it coincides with what societal's expectations are, they feel like they shouldn't do it. But again, it's checking, what is the intention behind it? Is the intention, or, you know, is the energy behind it, I'm doing this because I feel obligated to do it. I'm doing this because I'm trying to conform to being the good girl that I've always been raised to have to be. Or am I doing this because actually this is just what I want? So, you know, for me in that example, I just really like it when I am clean shaven. I'm kind of happy to go a few days and have a little bit like on my legs. I'm not that like put off by it, but I really like, especially when I go out, I feel more comfortable like in my home to, you know, to like have, you know, like hairy legs. But when I go out, I really do like to be more clean shaven. Like I wouldn't like to go swimming and have that. Like that is just me. And yes, I know that is a lot of like what a lot of women feel, but I tried the other way. I tried like, you know, just letting things become natural. And do you know what? It's really weird. Like I'll share with you, like, so for me, I have this really I don't know if I should really share this. This is like a proper weird quirk. I have this like thing about armpit hair. So weirdly, I find that really attractive on a man. There's something like, for me, it feels really masculine. Like when my husband's like working out and he wears like a vest and I see like it's really gross. Like it's not a fetish thing. It's just I think it's like when I see it, like it feels masculine. Like I love it when my husband like if we're laying in bed and he like wraps his arm around me. I love his hairy arms. Like, and I love the contrast like up against mine, which are like, you know, smooth. They've got like little tiny baby hairs, you know, but nothing more than that. I love like seeing his like, you know, really masculine like hairy arm up against my like really smooth feminine arm. But that is just my personal preference on it. So when I then like, if I was to let my armpit like hair grow, for me personally, it does not feel like a feminine expression for me. But I have met lots of women, I have lots of friends who really like go for that, and for them it doesn't feel like it does for me at all. But it's this thing around like, stop letting like what's popular, like this is another thing, if something's trending or something's popular, sometimes we have this desire to want to push against it because it's this thing of like, well, everybody else likes this and I don't want to like everything that everybody else, you know, likes, because I want to be different, or, you know. But it's understanding and like removing all of that crap and coming back in and going, what do I, as a person, as an individual, as me, as my soul, what do I want and what do I like? And it doesn't matter if it goes with the grain or it goes against the grain. None of that matters. It's about being true to what you really desire, because that's when you step into your power. When you find and you understand and you learn what it is that you desire and you want for yourself, that is when no one has that control. Because it might be like, oh yeah, you're into something that's like currently trending, but you'll probably be into that thing after it's finished trending as well, you know. Like I find this with like shopping with clothes. Like sometimes, depending on what the current season is, what the current like fashions are, I'll be able to go into like high streets, stores, and find the things that I like. But if those things aren't currently fashionable for that season, then I have to look to other places, because I have a particular style that I enjoy, that I like, that suits me, that I feel comfortable in. It makes me feel good. And that style is not always in fashion. Sometimes it is, and it's quite handy when it is, because then it seems like there's, you know, there's more variety, that I can just go out and pick pretty much any shop and find something. But when it's not, for me, I don't like just go into the shop and go, oh, okay, what's fashionable at the moment? You know, I very much know like what my style is as an individual. And so this is like another funny thing around like the rebellion thing, which I've only just like, and it just goes to show how it comes up in such small little ways. So one of the things that I did as part of, you know, when I left my corporate role and I became a stay-at-home mum, was I basically got rid of all of my smart clothes. So all of my like tailored trousers, all of my shirts, like smart jackets, everything like that. It really was this like purging of, you know, trying to get rid of this idea of conformity. And I was like, no, this isn't who I am, and got rid of it all. And so I've been looking like, so I create like little vision boards like when I go shopping now, because I just end up buying like random shit if not, and then it doesn't fit with my wardrobe, you know, like I need to have a plan when I go shopping. So I create like a little mood board, a little vision board around like, what do I want for spring, summer, you know, all the different seasons. And then I can go out with like, okay, I've got these kind of outfits in mind. I've got this kind of style in mind that I'm looking to find. And one of the things that I've been really being drawn to recently, like looking on Pinterest, looking on social media, all of that kind of thing around different styles and different outfits for the spring, was shirts have really been kind of popping out to me. Now I've got a few shirts, but they're really quite casual shirts. They're like really floral. They're not particularly like tailored or structured or anything like that. And so I went out the other day and I found this like white linen shirt, but it was quite like tailored. It was really smart. And I think the fact that it was white, it felt very like really elegant. And I tried it on and I absolutely fell in love with it. I should have worn it for this video actually, but I've just done a workout and I've had like ideas, transmissions, and I wanted to get them out like whilst they were in my head. But I absolutely fell in love with this shirt. But when I was in the changing room trying it on, there was this part of me that came back and was like, we don't do shirts. Like, you know, we don't need to dress up smart anymore. Like, but I was like, no, okay, I'm gonna, you know, but I'm also getting this feeling of like, this looks really good on me. Like, I feel really good in this. Like, and I was like, I can't deny that. Like, you know, this is coming up. And then I went out and like found a pair of like tailored trousers. Like, you know, smart trousers. And I was like, oh my God, like this style suits me. Like, you know, I was like, all that time when I was like, feeling like I was forced to have to wear that in a corporate environment and absolutely hated it. And then I tried it on and I was like, it accentuates like, you know, you know, a lot of that stuff is like high-waisted and it like pulls in my waist. Like my waist is one of my like, you know, my key features on my body, like all of these things. And I was like, oh my God, like, what have I been doing? I've been like holding myself back from wearing things that I felt really good in simply because they were linked to this life. They were linked to this feeling of like obligation that I had to do this. And I was like, I've been missing out on this. And now I'm like, I just want my whole wardrobe filled with like shirts now. Like, you know, like, so this is what I'm sort of trying to say about, don't let that rebellion, don't let the fact that you're trying to stick two fingers up to the patriarchy, all of that crap, get in the way of what you desire. It is not worth it. You are giving your power away by being in that stance. Like, this is why I really hate toxic femininity. Like, it is not feminine. It is not female empowerment. That is not what it is. It is rebellion. And I understand it. I get it. Like, we all have that. We all have that, like, inner wounding from our childhoods. Like, men do as well in other different ways, okay? But to just push against it for the point of wanting to just make a stand, to make a point, does not get you the life you desire. It does not get you the fulfilling, like, empowerment of knowing yourself and really, like, living into and being who you truly want to be as a person. You have to just remove all of that, like, get the blinkers up, okay? Stop focusing all of that and just ask, what do I want? What feels good to me? Okay. So the rebellion thing was a big point, a big turning point. The next thing that then like kind of happened almost off the back of that was time was no longer my enemy. My self-care stopped being a chore. And I think, again, this was all linked in with this rebellion idea of wanting to just push against, just to make my point that I was free, that I could make my choices, but I wasn't making my choices. I was just trying to make a stand and like push against it. And when I started to remove that and I got back into asking, what do I want? Like, and I started to really see that my self-care, like me taking care of myself, me taking time to go and have my hair done. Like, one of the things I stopped doing was I completely stopped going to the hairdressers, like when I became a stay-at-home mum. Some of it was kind of slightly financial because obviously we had my wage had gone completely, and I had quite a large, well, I was the highest earner when I left. So there was a slight financial thing, but it was more than that. Like, it really was this, like, I don't need to do any of this anymore. Like, I stopped wearing makeup. And I kind of just, like I said, I sort of just stopped all of it. And I think as well, like, obviously having a new child, you know, it's full on. Like, parenting is, especially when you first step into it, like, your whole world just explodes. It's a drastic change to your life. So I get it, you know, and I understand in myself, like, why I did that. But I started to realize the importance of loving myself and putting myself first. And I started to see this in my parenting, that when I put myself first, not in this like selfish way, but like I understood that when I was in a good place, when I was, you know, feeling positive, when I was feeling really good about myself and my body and what I was doing, my kids benefited. I became, like, automatically, without having to think, without having to like pull all the scripts from all the books and everything, I became the mother that I wanted to be naturally when I was in that good place. Parenting, mothering became easy. It became effortless when I put myself first. And again, like, we've probably all just grown up with our own parents. Like, I even remember having this conversation like with my parents about when I had this breakthrough of realizing the importance of putting myself first. And they were like, well, it's, you know, it's just for like a few years, you know, the kids are like what's important. And don't get me wrong, yes, the kids are incredibly important, and every mother has that desire. But when you start to see evidence in your own life of how actually just putting them constantly before yourself is a complete detriment to them, like how it does not serve you as being like the best mum that you want to be. Like, it's like the, you know, the plane analogy, isn't it? Of when you get on a plane and they tell you, you know, if the oxygen like fails and the masks come down, put your own mask on first before attempting to try and help another. And it's exactly the same. Like, I wish, like, if this was like one thing that I could communicate to all mothers, to all women, it is that learning and really knowing that within your being, that when you take care of yourself first, when you prioritize your self-care and your, you know, yourself first, everybody else benefits from you. And especially as a woman, because that is our gift as the feminine. Our energy is our gift. Like, I was having this conversation with my husband last night around and I'm going to do it, like, let me know as well if you want this, because I want to do like a whole nother video around what it took for me to like really understand what my role was and what I brought to the table as a stay-at-home mum, as someone who was no longer bringing any financial contribution into the household. Like, what was my contribution as a woman? Because for a long time, I really battled to understand that. And I felt like I was constantly being inadequate. And I don't want to go off on a tangent and talk about that in this video. But one of the things I was talking to him last night about this was that, I've lost my trail of thought. I've gone off down that route. My brain wants to go that way. What was I talking about? Around yes, my energy. Like, I was saying to him, like, do you realize that when I am not on it, when I am having a really crap day, when I can't get my like thoughts aligned, when I can't get my energy aligned, everybody else in this household has a bad day as well. My husband can have a bad day, but the rest of our house can be fine. One of the kids can have a bad day and the rest of the house will be fine. But if I have a bad day, it impacts the whole energy of our household. Like, that is my gift as the feminine, is the energy that I bring. And again, it's not about like having, you know, it's not about this like obligation or this like responsibility, but seeing this actually as my gift. Okay. And so like, I started to realize that my self-care was not to be seen as a chore anymore. It was not another annoying thing on the to-do list that I had to tick off. It was a priority because of the impact that it had, not just on myself, but on my whole family. And like, this even happened yesterday. I got into that mindset again of around my business. So my husband decided, it was like bank holiday, and he was like, right, I'm going to take the kids to a play area so that you can have a bit of time, because normally they're, you know, at school until 1 on a Monday. And so he was like, right, I'll do that, and then you can have some time. And I instantly went into this like, okay, I should be doing something to do with my business. I should be filming a video. I should be, you know, doing something. But I could really feel within my body that if I sat down in that should mentality, that I wasn't going to be producing the level of quality that I wanted to be putting out in my business. So I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to do anything on my business today. I'm going to wait until tomorrow when we go back to school, when we get back into the routine, we're back into the structure, and I have time and I have space, and that is when I'm going to do something. And so I got in the shower. I had this really like lovely long like shower, and I washed my hair, and I just really took care of myself and my body. And I went downstairs and I was starting to get lunch ready for everyone. I was like, oh, I'm going to cook this really delicious lunch. And I was really excited about what I was going to cook, and, you know, all this delicious food that I was going to be nourishing my body with. And then the idea came for this exact video, and it just downloaded through me. So even though I had no intention to sit and do any work, this downloaded, like, and I was, you know, doing the stuff for the lunch whilst just writing down on my phone like these points, and it just came out, and I was like, bang, I now have a script. I now have, you know, the structure for a video that I want to put out there now. Like, and like this is what I'm trying to like say, like when prioritizing yourself, and this is on lots of different levels, this is going to look different for every single different like woman, because our desires are all very different. Like some of us might want to be a bit more light touch on the self-care. Like I don't class myself as somebody who like has really long morning and evening routines. I do have a morning and an evening routine, but they're not massive, but they fit my needs. They suit what I need. And yes, I'm starting to expand on that a bit more, but like that's going to look different for everybody. For some people, they might have a whole hour that they like to dedicate to you know, taking their makeup off at night and getting themselves like ready for bed. Like, and if that's their thing, then that's their thing. And there's also going to be other women who like to do a little bit, and that's enough. But again, it's about, what do I need? Like, what makes me feel good in my body? What makes me feel happy? And so what happens is when you start to make this like this energetic like decision, and you kind of start setting your own internal boundaries around like, this stuff is important to me, time no longer becomes the issue. And the reason time no longer becomes the issue is because you now have a desire to want to do it. Whereas before you were doing it because you kind of felt like you should be doing it. Again, it's that should starts to come back in. If you start to feel yourself like in that, I should be doing this, I need to do that, then dig a bit deeper and question whether that is really something that you should be doing or that you need to do. Like, you know, you want to be looking for like, what do I desire to do? Okay. And so it was like yesterday, I didn't have a desire to want to work on my business. Now, of course, I had a much broader, bigger desire that, yes, like I wanted to get another video put out. I wanted to be progressing my business, like, you know, growing my reach, all of that kind of thing. But in that moment, I didn't have a desire to do that. I had a desire to really come back into myself, to have that long shower, to, you know, talk within my own head, to look after my body. All of that was the desire that I had. And then because I went with that desire, I allowed myself to do that. So this was after my husband had brought the kids back. So this wasn't in the allotted time that I had to effectively do my work, so to speak, or to work on my business. This was where like time collapsed. Like I no longer needed that allocated time of him being able to take the kids out so I could, you know, come and film a video. I could focus on it because I got into that space of desire. I like elevated my consciousness. And because I did that, the idea just came. I just wrote it down on my phone whilst the pasta was cooking, like for lunch. And it was like, that whole idea of like, oh, I need an X amount of time to be able to do this like thing just completely like went out the window. It was gone. So don't use time. If you find yourself using time as your reason why you're not doing, like, carrying out the self-care that you really want to do, that's when you need to like question, like, one, is it something that you want to do? Because I always like say this in life, if you want something bad enough, you will fucking go and do it. Like, it is just the way of it. Like, when I look back to all the things that I've done in my life, like, there are things that I have been so hell-bent on that, like, this is what I am having. This is the life that I'm creating. Like, this is the dynamic that I want, you know, like, this is the thing that I'm going to go for. And I have made it happen. I have not necessarily always been in a privileged place to make that thing happen in an easy way, but I have made it happen because I wanted it. So I always question if I'm ever like having those, if I'm ever like feeling that resistance, if I'm ever like struggling to move forward with it, I always question, like, how much do I want this? And it might not be that like you don't, that it's not something you want, but maybe it's just like the timing of it, that it's like, I want this, but it's not for right now. Like, I want this, but it needs to be like at a different time. And so for me, not having enough time is no longer a reason why I don't put myself first. I make time, I create time, like, and it is completely possible. Like, when I looked at all the things that I now fit into my lifestyle, like, to some other people, it might seem like really full on, really insane. But because these things have been a priority to me, they have really meant something to me, they are a soul desire, I have created time to do them. And it's not in this, I'm burnt out, I'm so frazzled, like, I'm stressed, I'm, you know, I'm running here, there, and everywhere, I'm like a headless chicken. No, it's not that. Like, this is like on an up-leveled like state of, I have kind of collapsed time to create time in that. So, and the way you do that is because it's not a chore. You know, like, looking after yourself and doing the things that you want to do for your own self-care becomes an act of self-love rather than out of an obligation. Like, that is really the point, that like the place you're trying to get to. You're doing these things from a place of self-love because you love yourself and because they feel good to you to do, not because you feel like, especially as a woman, you should be doing these things. You know, like, you can go on social media and you can see loads of these like reels and stuff of, you know, my get ready with me, what I eat in a day, what I do in a day, and they can be really triggering if you're not in a grounded place. You can see them and you can compare yourself and feel like, I need to be like this. Especially if that person is really owning what they're doing, they're going to be giving off this like energy of confidence and clarity in how they're presenting themselves. But you can do that as well, but your presentation of that might look quite different to what that person's doing. But you kind of, you get sucked into their energy, and you feel like that's when you start to compare and go, well, I'm not doing that in my life. Like, my morning routine doesn't look like that. How is that woman with 6 kids able to do blah, 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 you know, like, and then you don't move forward on it. But the problem is you're getting too caught up in what somebody else is doing. You need to take from them that they've got the energy of clarity around, this is what they want to do, this is what feels good to them, this is what sets them up for the day, all of that kind of stuff. Find out what that looks like for you. Then you will be able to step into the energy of clarity that they bring when you watch those reels, okay? And this also like tags onto as well the whole thing that my children are no longer the blockage either. Like, this is a big thing that comes up, and I've done this as well. So I, you know, I send love and like compassion out there for that, because you know, for a long time, the reason why I couldn't do any of these things, the reason why I couldn't like start running my business, the reason why I couldn't have the marriage that I desired, the reason why I couldn't have that level of self-care and, you know, self-devotion was because of my kids. Because, you know, like I was saying before, they were my first priority. And it's really like, it's difficult to move past that point as a mother where you say, my kids are not my first priority. Yes, they are an incredibly, incredibly important part of my life. But they can never be my number one priority. It's the same with my marriage. My husband is not my number one priority. I am my number one priority, because I know that when I make me my number one priority, I get to have the marriage, I get to have the motherhood, I get to have the business, I get to have all the things. Because if I am running on empty, if I am not in a state of overflow, I can't have all this stuff. I'm in survival. I'm constantly clawing, trying to top myself back up. Whereas when I'm in overflow, everybody gets to benefit from that. And the more you start to do that and you start to try that out in your life, you'll start to see evidence of it. You'll see that like actually everything starts to like fall into place when you prioritize yourself. So you can't use that excuse anymore. You've got to drop being the martyr. Like your kids are not your blockage. Time is not your blockage. If you want something, if you want to step up into being this woman, into this mother that you truly desire to be, you have to decide that. You have to declare it to yourself and say, I am worthy to have that. And if you want some motivation as well, like I have 2 girls. So for me, I really have this inner like desire to want to model to them. I don't want to just tell them, like I want to embody it for them, what it looks like to really be an empowered woman, to know herself, to make decisions from that centered place, to prioritize herself, because she knows the power of her energy when she's in that overflow. She knows the worth that she brings when she gets herself into that overflow space, and she knows what she needs to do in order to get into that overflow space. Okay, so I just want to round this like whole video up by just saying, like, if this is you, if you are in that place where you're saying like, oh my God, yes, this is all resonating with me because these are all the things that I'm doing, this is the way that I am self-sabotaging, I just want you to like really step into this place of gratitude and appreciation for yourself right now. Because I know that if I wasn't in that space, I would never have learned from it. I have such a deeper appreciation and connection with myself now because I was that woman. I was that mother, 7 years ago. And I've learned from her. She taught me a lot, It's like with the whole makeup thing. So like when I used to go to work, you would never ever find me going into the office without makeup on. And that was like, it wasn't just an obligation thing. There was also an insecurity thing. I had to wear makeup every single time I went out. And then I went to the polar opposite when I became a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, I hate, I got to this, like, I don't want to put makeup on every day. I hate this. Like, so I never then used to wear it. Whereas now I'm in this really beautiful place where, like, I know for me, my makeup style is very much, I like natural looking makeup. It suits me. I don't think lots of heavy makeup does really anything for me. I can't be bothered. Like, and that's from a, like, this isn't from a, I don't want to put the effort in for myself. Like, it's just not for me. I like really simple, plain, like natural looking makeup. That is my thing. But I also learned from the woman I was in my, early stay-at-home mum days, that I can really rock and feel confident not going out in makeup. And so now I wake up and I just choose. Like, some days I want to put makeup on because I just really feel in that space. And other days, I want to let my skin breathe a bit. Sometimes I won't wear it because, I don't know, just it feels like my skin wants to breathe. Like, especially I find in the summertime I wear less. Like, the sun, my skin loves the sun. And if any of you have like also recommendations, I'm really trying to work out how to get that like sun exposure like you get in the summer, in winter, because my skin literally just like it looks so youthful. It glows when I can get that bit of sunshine on it. And so I don't actually tend to wear a lot of makeup in the summertime because of that, because I just feel like it doesn't need it, But there are also days when I get up, you know, like this morning, I wanted to put some makeup on. Like it was a whole ritual thing of like, I'm, you know, going to be filming a video today. And again, it wasn't I can't do a video. I've filmed videos before when I've not had makeup on at all, because I just felt comfortable in the decision that I made that day. Okay. So like, you know, don't beat yourself up for like where you're currently at with this. Like you have to, you know, I always say, and I say this, like, you know, I talk about this a lot on my other channel, is that the negative is like understanding what it is that we don't want, what we don't like, is such a powerful thing, because it informs us about what we do want. It informs us of where we do want to go. It is there to teach us. So don't get into that space of like, you know, beating yourself up for this. Like this is all happening a lot of the time completely unconscious. And it's not until you start to heighten your sense of conscious awareness that you start to see that you've just kind of picked up these habits, this, you know, this conditioning along the way. It's nothing to be shaming yourself for. This is your chance to learn from it and to gain empowerment from it. And, you know, take that, you know, reclaim that power back for yourself. Okay. I'm going to wrap the video up here, but I want to just let you guys know as well that I have a really beautiful offer. It's my first offer for my business that I'm really, really excited about. And it's crazy that it's happened on Rebirth of the Mother as well, because I've done lots more videos on my other channel, my Josephine Snowling channel, which I will link in the description box below, where on that channel, I just talk much more high level. So on Rebirth of the Mother, I go into much more specific detail around motherhood, marriage, soul-led business, self-care, self-love, all of this kind of thing. Whereas on my Josephine Snowling channel, I talk about it from a much higher perspective, because that channel is really intended for anybody who's looking to elevate themselves, who's looking to cultivate that relationship within themselves, and then start to create the reality that they desire from that place. So that's, you know, men or women. Whereas Rebirth of the Mother, I really wanted to have this avenue where I could speak just directly to women, to mothers, because that is where my experience lies. Like this is where my teachings have come, and I do use examples obviously of those things in my other channel, but they are more just kind of used to emphasize a more generic point. But if, you know, subscribe to both, because you will definitely get benefit from both. And yes, so the beautiful offer that I have is Reclaim Your Motherhood, and it is a self-led workbook that I have put together, which is going to get you on this journey to having the motherhood, having the life as the woman that you really desire to live. It's going to get you looking at like what your current situation is, what isn't currently working, what is not in alignment with you. And it's going to get you focusing on what it is that you do want instead. You're going to build your own motherhood temple out of this. And it's this, I love it. It's this beautiful structure that I've put together. And it talks about the hierarchy of motherhood, basically. I'm not going to go into too much detail, because I want you to, you know, to get this guide and go through this yourself, create your own motherhood temple, and understand, get that clarity back of where you want to go, where you want to head your motherhood journey, and then how you're going to start bringing that into your life. So go check it out. It's in the description box. And let me know as well if you've got any other topics, if there's anything I've mentioned in this video that you want me to dive deeper on, if that you want more videos on, let me know, because I really do feed off of all of your comments. It inspires new downloads, more transitions, and gets me into that. That's what gets me into that overflow state, is feeding off of you guys. Okay, so drop your comments, go check out Reclaim Your Motherhood below, and I will see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day. Much love.